From the north side of the San Francisco Bay to Singapore, welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host, business owner, lecturer, author, master trainer, Tiaja. With over 30 years of experience in the health and fitness industry, he will challenge the fitness between your ears. So prepare your mind, body, and soul for the revolution of self-care, the evolution of fit, with real talk about real people, real health, real fitness, and the real deal behind our present illness culture. Real talk every time, all the time. Get weekly insights on how to shift your thinking, emoting, eating, training, hydrating, goal setting, and resting for you, the everyday athlete. You can cheat your fitness, but you can't steal your health flow. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. Let's flow.
Welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio, where we challenge the fitness between your ears. I'm your host, Tiaja. Turn on any talk show these days, and you're likely to hear the deposition of someone who is presently suffering from a traumatic event from their past they personally experienced or witnessed. Now, the medical term for this is PTSD. For those of you who are not aware of the term PTSD, it means post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, according to the NIMH, the National Institute of Mental Health, post-traumatic stress disorder is a disorder that develops in some people who have experienced a shocking, terrifying, or dangerous event. Once solely associated with war veterans, PTSD is now estimated to affect 8 million adults every year, or 7.8% of the population. Sadly, but not surprising, women are likely more affected. It is also estimated that up to 40% of children experience at least one trauma during their childhood. So where does that leave you and me? One of the most challenging aspects of being a trainer is listening to the horror stories people have gone through. What's truly amazing is how resilient we human beings are. Yet just because we have the capacity to get through anything doesn't mean there isn't a price to be paid, because there is. Some of my clients found it much more difficult, if not impossible, to see any silver lining in their experiences or to imagine a day where they could come out on the other side of the proverbial mountain intact. The pain of what they went through was still too great. It consumed them and became its own personality. Food became an emotional crutch. Gaining weight made them self-loathing. Losing weight made them feel anxious because they might have to deal with unwanted solicitations from faceless men again. The triggers were too numerous. What to do? Now, I hear a lot about how divided we are as a nation, but what I seldom hear is how divided many American households are, or how divided we are individually. The prevailing wisdom that life is no longer black and white is a huge trigger for many, and it makes it easier to understand why so many may suffer from PTSD. What was once considered fact is now refuted by newer facts until nothing seems real or permanent anymore. When everything seems so transitory, feelings of powerlessness and helplessness are often triggered. After all, proper psychological and emotional development requires stability. However, in the derisive political climate Americans reside in today, it makes it nearly impossible to feel a sense of stability and permanence, not to mention any substantive emotional connection to other human beings. Consequently, many live in a perpetual state of anomie or normlessness. Now let me offer a little context. Anomie is a term I learned way back in the day in one of my college sociology classes from a book by Emil David Durkheim. Now Durkheim defined anomie as the condition which society provides little moral guidance or normative structure to individuals. Anomie, Durkheim suggested, often evolves from the conflict of belief systems, and it causes breakdowns of social bonds. In a person, this can progress into dysfunction and the inability to integrate within the normative situation's social environment. So what does this all have to do with reliving negative memories? Well, think about what I conveyed earlier about my clients and PTSD. Many people are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder today because the triggers that could potentially incite an episode abound. One quick example. Today, college students and administrative staff alike require safe spaces. But from what? Opinions and beliefs that contradict their own personal beliefs and opinions? When you consider that 40% of all children have suffered some form of emotional trauma, and now mechanisms like safe spaces on high schools, campuses, and college campuses, even corporate offices have been set in place, then it's little wonder why so many are emotionally stuck. The overreaching power of our memory muscle can't be overstated, but how do you heal if you're never challenged to confront your past demons? See, I always find it remarkable how some people can recall every moment and incident from their high school years with stunning accuracy. Some can even go back further than that and tell you everything about elementary school experiences as well. Now, I obviously don't seem to possess any of their muscle memory fiber. Sure, I can reimagine major events from high school, and if I really tried, I'm sure I could recover some details from my elementary school years, but honestly, I don't care to. My life experiences in general have been so expansive, rich, and rewarding that even if I wanted to engage in such revisionist hyperbole, I could not do it to any appreciable degree. However, that doesn't mean I'm insensitive to those who do recall those years, especially when they're perforated with pain. As a trainer, I've been unusually attuned to such memories and their triggers, for it is the single most reason people are stuck to begin with. Now, I know most people think that they need to change their diet or exercise regimen, when in truth, all they need to change is their memory venue. I may be able to spot them in the gym, but once they leave and we go our separate ways, I can no longer do the heavy lifting for them. Believe me, I can talk anyone off the ledge, but they must be willing to step away from the imminent danger on their own. We all have things in our past that we would rather permanently forget, but we cannot completely erase our memory muscle hard drive. Once we have experienced something, particularly something traumatic, its memory is literally stored in every cell in our bodies. A smell can trigger a traumatic memory, a loud voice, a song, a facial expression, a narrative. Fortunately, we are also equipped with the capacity to recall fond memories, but too often they get buried underneath the rubble of the painful ones, and unfortunately, we allow the painful memories to dictate our emotional state, and in far too many instances, to define us. Perhaps the better question is whether understanding where our negative emotional reactions to certain things comes from and what we can do with those emotions once they show up. If we continue to flex the painful muscle memory every time something in our environment makes an effort to trigger a negative emotion, then we will never be whole, which is the definition of health. Thus, we will never be healthy. It is no secret that stress is one of the major contributors to a compromised immune system. Even still, America continues to lead the developed world in the use and abuse of stress management drugs and antidepressants like Paxil or Prozac or Lexapro. Recharging your mental and emotional batteries will require more than trying to be upbeat or positive. It will require more than a new look or outlook for that matter. Truth is, you may have to revisit some of the dark places of your past even after adjusting for the so-called good news or bad news of the moment. The right word spoken, the right decision, can send your internal stock spiraling upward. How you choose to respond to your past and the triggers that evoke such memories will ultimately determine who wins, you or your inhibitions. Your flash of illuminance is more likely to occur when the guardians of emotion are sent packing and you resume your rightful place at the command center. Dear friends, I wish above all things that you prosper just as your soul prospers. You've been listening to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host Tiaja. Until next week, as always, walk in health and peace.